That was weird. So you are in the ruins, or what's left of Rautsteinn, this little town that you took. You killed their warriors. Two of them joined you. Um, but overall, you defeated their warriors. Most of the people who lived here, separate to being warriors, had fled and gotten away as quickly as they could, away from the reavers from the north, which is what you are to these people. Um, yeah, you've been living in the ruins of this town for maybe a day or so. Um, Faroth, you would have just woken up from that strange dream and seen that raven at your window, um, cawing 3 times and then flying away. Faroth, Jesus, Ragnar.
Yeah, Ragnar has not had an easy night's rest. While he only took a few cuts and bruises in the battle, he's still sore and stiff from the exertion of killing. He rubs his eyes and he looks at the window to see if there's anything there.
You can look and see that there's like a light dusting of snow, and you can see that that raven has like landed in the sort of center of the town, and it's like pecking at the eyes of one of the dead men, and like getting a nice snack out of it. But as you kind of look, it stops and looks in your direction and caws again, and then flies.
Faroth just watches it. Faroth.
We're all doing it.
Ragnar. Ragnar watches him go with a haunted look on it in his eyes.
As you're kind of looking at that window, you can see like it's very peaceful. You think it's quite late, maybe almost so late that it's early, and there's like this snow falling or whatever. But also there's the bodies like have mostly not been moved, of the various people that you've killed. Some of them have been burnt, but some of them are still lying there, and there's like this dusting of snow covering them, and it's this weird kind of peaceful scene. The snow making all of the disgusting like blood and shit and all the other things that happen when people die just vanish. And then you can see a man walking into the town, very tall. He's got this like thick fur cloak around him, his bald head, and a long beard, forked beard. And he walks into the town. He looks around, and you can see him like stop for a second, and then just like, and you can see his like eyes like look around and then follow, and then like look in various windows. He's looking for like light sources. You can tell, very deliberate and very slow.
Ragnar puts on his equipment. He pulls on his cloak, makes sure his weapons are secure at his side, and he sweeps outside and stands there looking at the man, making no attempt to hide, just staring at him.
Yeah, he'll turn his gaze upon you. He's got these ice blue eyes, so blue to be almost white. What happened here?
What does it look like?
He's dead? You leave them here?
Faroth doesn't recall any order being given to treat the... I said Faroth again. Ragnar doesn't know whether any order was given to dress and give rights to all of the fallen. So he looks around and he says, "It's a bit cold out this morning. I expect it will be done." Who are you?
Pilgrim, I suppose. Came here for the stone. Had a dream that I should come here, speak to the Allfather. I heard that there was a Galder lived here, knew the runes, like the Allfather.
Perhaps you would like to talk to the Carl.
Carl? This
Aye.
village?
Nay, the one who took it.
Ah. Hmm. Yeah. I'd like to pray first.
How long will that bloody take?
Until the Allfather decides that I have spoken to him enough.
Ragnar just looks at this tall man. Ragnar's not sure, but I'm guessing he's probably dwarfed by this guy, right, Lloyd?
I wouldn't say dwarf, but he's tall. I mean, Vagnar's quite tall as well. He's not like monstrously tall or like even unusually tall. He's just tall.
Very well. While you pray, I will send word of your arrival.
Yeah, he'll nod and he'll walk over to this stone, this big red stone that's like carved with all these like swirls and this intricate knotwork, and this particular image of Odin hanging upside down from the tree, the world tree, pierced by a spear and bleeding from the wound in his eye. And the man just like approaches the stone and looks at it, and he puts a hand on it, and then he just starts talking to Odin as if that's how this works. He just starts chatting to him. I've come. I'm here. You told me, and I'm here. And just goes on in that sort of manner.
Ragnar just deliberately stares at the back of his head for a moment. Lloyd, are all of these people armed?
It's just one. It's just him.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said he came with other people. No, okay.
Yeah, it's just this one guy.
Is he armed?
Yes, you would see that he has. Oh yeah, you would see. So he's got this big long axe, and like at the end of it, he's using it to like carry a bundle of like clothing and stuff like that with him.
Ragnar just gives a scowl and sweeps around his cloak trailer behind him in the snow over the bodies to go and find Phelim. My Carl, we have a guest, it seems.
A guest? What do you mean?
A pilgrim. He comes to pray at the stone. He made comment on those who have fallen to us. They have not been given rights.
I see. Did he come alone?
Seemingly, would you like me to scout?
That may be wise. It could just as easily be someone from a nearby village trying to use this as a guise to check in. I'd hate to see unexpected visitors other than this man. In the meantime, I will speak with him, see what brings him here.
I will accompany you. I see he is armed.
I see. Okay, yes. Let's go. Let's go to him then.
Ragnar looks around and he's going to try and spot. Would he see Sigrid? Would Sigrid be around, or?
I would imagine that Sigrid would be fairly close to the Carl, especially in hostile territory, not wanting him to be unprotected.
You, Lefty, come on.
There's a little quirk on her lips when you call her that, and she goes along with you.
So yeah, you guys can walk out into this little courtyard and see this man. As I said, bald. You can see that there are like some scars across the back of his head and his neck. You would notice a particular scar at his neck, one of like rope burn. It looks like something that has like been there for a long time. Got this big, thick fur cloak, and he's just looking at the stone. And he's saying, "Yes, I understand. Well, what? No. Well, no. Listen. No. Okay. Yes, I understand." And he's like having this one-way conversation with this stone.
He does speak candidly with the All-Father. He mutters to you both.
Certainly. There's a unique way of approaching the conversation.
Sigurd would just add in, kind of just without looking at the two of you, just watching this man. They say that Brynjolf was blessed by the All-Father, that he could see things before they came to pass. We should be careful around this man.
Of course. And from there, I think Phelim's just going to, within reason, let him carry out this conversation and try to kind of find a pause in it or a lull.
Yeah. Havisa, you are like tossing and turning, and you like wake up all of a sudden with this just ridiculous urge to vomit.
If she's on the ship, she would absolutely try and hold it in until she could get to the edge.
Yep. You're able to, just barely. Maybe there's a small like plop onto the deck of the ship, but then over the edge.
So Visla will look around for Phelim, particularly.
Yeah, I think like after you can like wipe some of the puke from your lips, and you can like look up and see strange sight, like in the village, Phelim and Sigrid and Ragnar are like standing like very close together, maybe 10 feet from the huge stone. Standing right next to that is a man. He's got his hand on the stone. Some stranger.
She'll make her way down the plank and towards the group, eyeing them up, and trying to get a sense of who this man is and what he might be doing here.
Yeah, I think like your impression is like that he didn't walk into this town the way that most people would, or you would imagine enemies would. There's a certain sort of swagger that comes with your average warrior. You know, there's like so much bravado goes into being a warrior beyond actually like killing people. There's so much like of an image that goes with it. This guy is not projecting any kind of image. He just seems to be talking to the statue.
Yeah, I imagine she might interpret that as something resembling a pilgrim or a wanderer. And she would approach the group and come and put a hand on Phelim's shoulder And have you spoken with him, Carl?
Not yet. Doesn't seem like an immediate threat, so seems like it would be better to let him finish with him openly.
Oh, what do you mean in the what? What? Will you let me finish? What? Okay. Yeah. What forest? Yeah. Okay. I understand. All right. And then he like takes his hand from the stone, and then he like rubs his hands together as if he's cold. He would then turn and like see the four of you standing there, and he would like look at you with those eyes again. One of you is this Carl, I suppose.
Yes, that would be me.
Apparently, I'm to speak with you.
Yes, weren't exactly expecting visitors. Not at the moment, though, of course, anyone who comes in, especially armed in any such way, figure it appropriate to speak with them, understand their motives. I'm sure you understand.
It would be a foolish man who wanders without a weapon. And I had no idea that you were here. I thought I would find this Galdir here. Who will take care of this runestone now? Pour mead on it. Is that not something you
Sure.
considered when you killed him? When you killed these people? That there is a stone here that belongs to the Allfather. Part of him that is here on this Midgard.
Unfortunately, I don't find myself in a position right now where I have had the times or means to consider such things. I'm sure a suitable replacement can be found.
Those of this village who were not warriors almost certainly fled, and they will return once we have left. The stone shall be seen to by them.
I do not know how. It's the task of a holy man.
Then it will be their task to find one.
He like spits onto the ground.
Regardless, I heard you also had concerns with the treatment of the dead, and be assured that they'll be seen to, given a proper response.
Seen to after they've spent a night here in the snow. And will they all go to Valhall? They've been given that last mercy. He looks around at like the bodies and he assumes that if you've left them out here, then they're also not going.
Gods aren't picky, as I'm sure you know. Those who died well will be taken by the gods, and those who didn't, well, and he smiles.
You find that amusing?
I find it to be a fact.
Sigurd would chime in right after Wagner finishes. And I apologize for my voice, guys. she would say, pardon Wagmar. He speaks much with his passion. All these fighting men, they died with weapons in their hands. We did not cheat them that. Because she has no idea what you did.
Or at least
Also,
there's that.
it is our right to reeve. It's what we're doing. They chose to fight. They could have paid their ransom and no blood would have been shed. Their holy man would still be here. They chose to fight and to die valiantly. And she would look to Phelim and give him a nod. Basically, the nod says, come on, it's your chance, man.
Yes. It's your right to reeve. It's your right to go where you please. It's these people's right to defend what's theirs, and to die well, and to be treated properly with respect after they have died.
Sigrid would see that. You would see a flush of embarrassment on her face. She would say, the responsibility is not the Carl's, it is mine. I should have seen that to these dead being taken care of. Our Carl fought bravely and was stricken down. He did not have the wits to give the order. I should have given it. That responsibility falls to me, not to the Carl.
In the final battle, if they don't make it to one of the halls of Asgard, well, they will find you. They will look for you in that battle.
And I will face my judgment then, as I do here in Midgard. And she would show her stump of an arm, and she goes, I am favored by Tyr. I am not afraid.
Interesting. You've made a sacrifice to the lawgiver. I made a sacrifice, and he will pull down some of that fur, and you'll see that he has this ragged scar that runs basically around under his jaw and across his neck, and he's obviously been hanged before.
You have, and Sigrid would kind of squint and she'd say, you survived the noose.
Well, the Allfather did. For 9 days, he survived it. I only did it for a few minutes, he says with a smile.
So this is where me, falter. What would sort of a reverence that someone of the Iron Eye might do, knowing that that's very similar to what Brynjolf had done when his eye was struck from his head, when fighting in a duel.
How do you mean? Like a sort of
it would be like reverence, I guess, because to the Iron Eye, the Allfather is obviously he's the Allfather, but he's extra special to them. And to see that this guy is marked like Odin would mean a lot to Sigrid.
For sure, yep. I don't know if there would be a symbol for Odin's worship. There probably would be. I don't know what it would be, though. You know
what? I got it. So she wears this symbol of Odin. It hangs from a pendant around her neck. She pulls it out and she holds it up and she says, "You are truly blessed to be touched so by the Allfather." And maybe she would blush even more as she looks around and she sees the dead laying covered with a thin blanket of snow. And she would turn to Phelim and say, "Lord Carl, with your leave, I will see that we take care of these dead."
It's only right. I'll help.
Of course, grab some help from some of the crew members. Let's make sure it's done.
And he goes to like step and move towards where the bodies are.
What is your name, stranger?
I don't mean to cause offense, but a name is a very powerful thing. I don't give it out freely. Certainly not to women of your description.
Then give it to my Carl.
But you will hear it. You can call me Hidolf.
Wagner decides he likes this man a bit more now.
So if he's not stopped, he'll make his way towards where the bodies are, and he'll begin. He'll like reach, like look around and rustle around for until he can find a spade, and begin to like dig in the frozen earth. And as he does so, you can see that he does have pretty enormous strength, and he's obviously the shape of a warrior underneath all those furs.
Wagner, maybe after stuffing some salted meat into his mouth, he he takes up a spade and he makes sure that he starts digging very close to this man, keeping an eye on him.
Sigrid goes about, she grabs a couple of extra men and goes about laying out the dead, making sure they all have a weapon. I imagine at one point it's like this pan away shot where she comes across that one crew member that was slain, and she sees this weapon cast aside from him, and she would bring it over and set it upon his chest as they carry him over and ride him.
I think you would see like that in his like last moments that he had like stretched as far as it was possible, and maybe like his hand an inch or two from the weapon.
Yeah, I love that. It's perfect.
So this man continues to dig. He starts to like sing a little bit. He's more kind of humming to himself as he works, and he doesn't stop until the task is done.
The tune he's humming, does it sound familiar to any of us? Something we might have heard?
Yeah, I think you'd recognize it. It would be like a common sort of battle song. It's this like tune about the spear throw over 9 heads. Something you would chant kind of in preparation for a charge. But he's singing it kind of like very calmly and like dum da dum da dum bum bum bum, you know, like just like humming to himself. It actually sounds kind of odd because you never would have heard it in that sort of context. So you dig until the sun starts to rise, and in the sort of twilight of morning, the bodies have been given a proper rest, and this man like wipes some sweat from his brow and like flicks it into the snow, and he like looks to you, Phelim. He walks over. He walks over maybe so quickly that it's worrying to those who don't trust this man. Like he finishes the task, flicks away the sweat, and then just like moves with such purpose towards you. We must eat.
Almost without thinking, Sigrid starts to reach for her axe.
Yeah, he like gets close and then he stops. Carl, we should eat. No, it's been a hard morning.
Yes. You've done well. You helped us with this task before. You had no reason to, yet you still gave your service willingly. I'll happily provide some thanks for that. We would kind of like snap towards one of the other crew members and have them run off to get some food for everybody who's worked so far.
Yeah, so they bring out like the supplies of this village. There's like relatively fresh bread and cheese and things like that, and some like cured meat, things like that, and you can eat pretty comfortably inside the long hall with a fire going. And it's kind of odd because there's no one in the village. It's very empty. It's just you, your reaving crew, and this man. He eats like a horse, if that's even a phrase. He eats ridiculously. Just so thankful for every time you give him food, and he like takes a turkey leg and just like every single bit just like is stripped off immediately. And he just seems bottomless in how much he's eating.
Yeah, at some point during the meal, I think Phelan would kind of try to nod up to him at some point and say, "So, you've come here. It seems like you've accomplished your purpose. Where do you plan on heading after this?"
Well, the High One told me that I should go to a forest between here and the village. So that's where I'll go. I go where he tells me.
Between here and another village, so somewhere nearby.
I don't know exactly. I'm not in a rush. Never am. But maybe 2 days, 3 days, maybe more, maybe less. But 3 would be better, more auspicious.
Of course.
What do you know of the surrounding lands? Wagner directs at him.
He doesn't look at you, Wagner. He looks to Phelan and he says, "Why do you keep an oathbreaker in your company?"
He served his time in outlawry. And he's useful. And since he's been under oath to me, he's done no such thing.
A man who can cast away an oath once will do so again.
Can cast away many things today, if needs be.
Yes, good. He like takes his big slurp of mead.
In this 3 days' travel, what do you think the All Father will show you?
I don't know. I'll find out when I get there. I wander. I go here and there. I go where he tells me. And when I get there, he tells me to go somewhere else. I try and help when I get somewhere.
And eat their larders dry.
It is a test of generosity. A great car like this surely can provide for one hungry man.
And provide I have I not?
You have. And thank you.
It's surely the least I could do for a man such as yourself, especially after taking the morning to assist us.
That's what anyone would do, or what anyone should do. If it was me lying there in the snow, I would hope that some stranger would come along and bury me.
Of course.
So Sigrid has been listening to this conversation. When it gets to the point where Vagnar and what the heck's his name? Hildolf
Yeah,
Hildolf are speaking, she thinks to her head, in her head, she goes, she does not think, she wouldn't think that someone like Vagnar would put much stock in the gods, him being an oathbreaker and all. But she would speak up if it looks as though the Carl is not going to continue the conversation, or if there's a lapse in the conversation. Where are you from? I've been listening to the sounds of your words. It sounds familiar to me, but I'm not able to place it.
I'm from here, I'm from there, I'm from hills and from ditches. You know.
So you'll answer me with riddles then?
I have secrets, I suppose. I'd prefer not to share them. You know, there is power in this kind of knowledge. Power that those who value different things than I might use against me.
Truth be told, you do not know us well. Probably a wise decision not to tell us too much. And she would kind of give an eye to Phelim. So you say you go to the woods, to the forest, to the, what did you say, west? For 3 days?
I did. Yes, a forest there. The old father told me to go there, to follow a stream, and there I'll find a door in the forest.
Sigrid looks, because we've all seen the map, correct? Yeah. When he says that, she would look to Phelim, and the look would say, "This is a sign." And you can see her; she's about to say something. So I want to give anybody else an opportunity to interrupt Sigrid before she says something.
It is interesting that you say that, because my own knowledge of the runes has told me that perhaps our way might lie there as well.
He leans forward and he leans his forked beard on his scarred knuckles. Knowledge of runes. Is that what you have?
Aye.
And what else? Women's magic, no doubt.
Sigurd would pipe out and immediately say, "She is a witch."
Well, the old father knew Seath. But he's wiser than all of us. He was able to understand those powers. Not meant for those who dwell in Midgard.
Perhaps that is your thinking, but I have been gifted with these, and the knowledge to understand them, what little I have. It is from the Allfather himself. How could I refuse such a gift?
I think that it's not from the Allfather. I think that it's Loki has given you a silver tongue.
Sigrid spits.
Then it is my good fortune that I care
Strange
not what
company
you
you
think.
keep, Carl. He just cuts across you and talks to Phelim, uninterested in what your response is. Strange company that you keep indeed, an oathbreaker and a witch.
Vagnar just shoots a look at Hivisla. He does not like being put in the same category.
This woman has done more for me and for the Carl she served before than most men I've seen. She's deserving of respect, regardless of your beliefs towards her. She's done nothing but good for me and for anybody else I've seen her help.
And that is so often how it appears. That is how they trick you. They see things in their... in the guts of animals, and in the tea leaves, and in the bones that they throw. They see things, and they will tell you things that will come true, but they will hide the truth from you. They will not tell you everything. And then one day, when you need to know it most, they will be silent, and that will be your end.
Perhaps you should learn the virtue of silence.
He stands up, and like the chair behind him like flings back, and he like grabs a fork and he smashes it into the table. Speak to me like that again, and I will kill you.
Ragnar has his blade in his hand.
Now, there's no reason for anything like that. Look, you've come here with what you've needed to do. If you find no pleasure in the company I keep, you're free to take your leave of it. In the meantime, I suggest you back down. You don't need any more trouble here, or else you'll find yourself in some on your own.
His eyes go from Wagner to Havisa to Sigrid and to you. It would be rude of me indeed to kill you in your hole. Although it's not your hole, I suppose. But he drops the fork. You can see that it's like bent at like a 90-degree angle.
My Carl, while there are fluctuating words of wisdom in what this traveller speaks, would you have us accompany him? We had talked of journeying across this part of the land.
I'm still in not much shape for travel, nonetheless, if things go poorly along the way. Still need some time to recover before I'm in a position to go anywhere across the land, especially in lands that might have reason to look unfavorably at me.
Gods be good if the journey isn't made in 3 days. He shoots a look at the traveller.
I'll be going. I've been told by the old father to go. Can't stay here and wait for you to feel better.
Yet, you don't sound too eager for my company regardless.
You I like.
Well, where I go, so will they.
And in that regard, my Carl, although you have not recovered your full strength, I feel certain that Sigrid and Wagner and myself can protect you until you are healed. Should you wish to travel, of course.
And Sigrid would add to that. My Carl is he's too modest. He is much stronger than he would have you feel. Can see the strength in him. She lies.
I can see there's a torrent of power beneath him.
And yet, regardless, I'm not sure how much it would be beneficial to travel in that direction. Even with great allies that I trust, and I don't say that sarcastically. There are other people who seem to know of the place that we are going. This holy man being one, but other townspeople, and perhaps other warriors. If we were to come into an encounter with anyone of that nature, I don't want to be in a position that would leave us vulnerable. Not to mention, all that aside, I'm concerned that if none of us were to stay back here, that the ship might leave without us.
You have an unruly crew.
Sometimes it takes time to build trust, time and something to show for it. They'll come around once they see that it's worth it, which I imagine will be pretty soon. However, if we were to leave immediately, I would not quite leave as much time and incentive along with them as I would like.
Do what you like, Carl. I have to go. The Old Father has charged me with a thing that I must do, and I cannot say no to him. I don't think you would either, were you in my position. Thank you for the food.
You're welcome, and you speak truly. I wouldn't dare to stop you, nor do I have reason to. Be on your way and do your duty as you see it.
Good. He stands. He picks up a few bits of food from the table and puts them into his bag. Before he ties it up and hangs it on the back of his axe. Well, maybe we'll meet again. Maybe not. Remember what I said, Carl.
Of course. Thank you for your assistance and for your wisdom.
And then he leaves, walks out the door, doesn't look back. You can hear him humming a tune as he starts to walk.
Once he's out of earshot, well, he was quite the character. Certainly has some strong views about a lot of you and what we were doing. Not sure that I trust him, despite him seeming so honorable.
Sigurd would pipe in and say, "There was wisdom in his words, Carl. You are still young yet. If you but think upon them."
And
This
which
lad-
words are those,
Oh,
Sigrid,
sorry.
that you would have me think
This one
upon
there.
so much?
This one here, and she points to Wagner. This one here, he is an oath breaker. He has broken an oath once. He has proven himself to be a valuable asset to you. But does not mean, do not let yourself think that is that he would not break the oath if he felt how would she say this? If something presented itself better for him.
Didn't hear you complaining about my company when I took the flank yesterday.
I did not. You fought bravely. And I hope you continue to do so. But it would be foolish for the Carl to put too much faith in you. As for the witch, too, there was wisdom when he had said that about her. She mended me back from death. I'm grateful to her for this, but she still is a witch, and I cannot forget that. They speak with twisted words.
And yet, I trust her more than I trust you, so I'll ask that you trust me in my faith in her for now. She's been with me much longer than you have, and she's done much more. You have fought bravely too, but don't forget that I choose my allies with care. Both of them have done nothing but serve me well, and I have no reason to believe that they will do anything else.
Those are the wisest words I've heard you say yet.
Ignoring this one-handed bitch for just one moment, do we intend to make our journey?
I think it's too much of a risk. I'm in no shape for battle. Neither are most of the men. If we go, and we encounter resistance, which seems likely, I fear that we won't make it back. Yes, there's treasure buried there, so at least it would seem, but there's treasure in many places. Many other places that we could go once we are recovered, and that are going to be less watched over by people who have reason to be doubtful and fearful.
Sigrid looks at Visla, and she starts to say witch. You see it start to form on her lips, but she changes. She stops herself and she says, Visla, what did you think of this stranger there? The one that gave us the false name.
I find that there are few men who do good without expecting something in return. To withhold both a name and a home. He is distrustful, and I have no reason to trust him.
So you have seen this then? That he is not to be trusted?
Nay. You merely ask what I think. I would have to consult the runes otherwise, and they are not always clear.
What is our next course? And I shall see the men endeavor to achieve it.
We shouldn't stay here long. We're ready to leave. It's only a couple days march from any of the nearest cities to get to here. If we're here when they get here, it could be bad. We should make our way out before they have the time to reach us. There are other places that we could find, hopefully places with a little more wealth that is more readily available. Say we make way for somewhere else. Try our luck there. But of course, I'm open to suggestions if anybody thinks there are wiser options.
We must look to the map. Wagner says as I bring up the map to see where we can go.
So you're on the very southern coast of Soderfjord. You're actually if you went straight north and continued north for a long time, you would get to the mountain range that separates Soderfjord from Valleyland, which is like the other province down here. So you're in like fairly eastern Soderfjord. You took this Rautsteinn, this settlement. There was two others that you passed, or so one that you passed, Strandveg, which is like a little town. And then there's also a larger, more fortified town in the hills near here that you had heard about. Hauker had told you that it was a place like a gold mine and an iron mine, like a big mining, silver and iron, I think. Big mining operation, fortified. There would be other villages. You would just be certain if you walked west or east, nothing more than 2 days would it take for you to find a village. Probably down here in the south, 1 day. You'll find settlements all over the place because this land is much more bountiful.
If my memory serves, the town that we passed, Ronveg, you said it was pretty minimally, at least it typically is minimally defended, and they tend to basically have ransoms available because they know that they're an easy target.
Yeah, they're
is my
like,
memory correct?
there's like maybe 50 people living in the whole extended sort of area around there, including farms and whatnot. You don't think they would stand much chance.
And he would look to the others. Perhaps while we head back up north to find some better options, we can hit that town that we were told about a little bit north, Strandveg. Seemed like an easy enough target. Perhaps we can get in and out without a fight. If the rumors that I've heard have been correct, it could be easy money and a payout for the men. I'm sure they'd appreciate that.
And another victory to solidify the camaraderie in the ranks.
That too. That at this point might be just as valuable as the silver.
Aye.
Any other thoughts? You kind of look over to Havisla and Sigrid.
That seems a wise course of action.
I am here to serve the Carl. I'll do what you say.
If you say so. All right. Let's ready the men. Get the ship in shape to get off and going. Sail a couple days. Meet up in that town, and then figure out another course after that. I'd like to be well out of here before anybody else decides to arrive, especially unexpected visitors who might talk of such things.
So is the idea then to basically pack up here, get on the ship, and sail up to Strandvik?
Yep. It's only like, as you say, a couple days from here to anywhere important, so I'd like to not be here for any longer than we have to be,
Right.
and hopefully sail us enough time to at least get some recovery in. Probably not a full one, but at least something ideally. So yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah, so preparations start to be made. Your crew starts to go through the houses, and many of them replace their like shitty boots with slightly nicer boots, or like they come out with like new tunics and things like that. Trying them on, some of them are too small, and they would like throw those to somebody else, and basically everyone taking what they can. While it's nice or ideal to get silver, a good pair of boots as well, very important. And so they kind of work on that while preparations are made. And yeah, maybe it's a couple of hours, maybe 3 or 4 hours before you're all on the ship and ready to head up the coast to Strandvik.
How has Wisla been feeling?
Yeah, not great. Ill in the mornings. Maybe a little bit like nauseous and a little bit dizzy occasionally. Yeah.
She chalks it up to maybe having eaten something poor. Says nothing.
When Sigrid has a moment to talk with Visla alone, she would. She would walk up to you and, Might I have a moment?
Certainly, Sigrid.
You said that the runes said that we were to head west into the forest. But when asked by the Carl, you did not say so.
Indeed, when I read the runes off the map, they showed us a path to the west. Casting my runes is something different.
And she would kind of cock an eyebrow and look at you.
You must understand, I did not wish the stranger to know we had a map. So I simply said that I had read the runes, and I let him infer what they had meant.
She would kind of tap her forehead like this. Was a wise move. Twisted words. The Carl has chosen well, I think. And she would, unless you say anything else to her, she would just kind of walk off.
Wisla just kind of shakes her head, unsure of this warrior woman who clearly still doesn't trust her.
You have these runes now, Avisla, and this enormous sword in your chambers. The runes are of excellent quality, but the sword is like you think you could buy a house with it. It's just a very large amount of high quality steel. It's inlaid with these this very complex sort of pattern of runes that runs down the fuller of the blade, and like hanging from the pommel at the end are various like leather strings and stuff that have various runic sort of bones at the end. Both of these things you can tell are more than they appear. The runes themselves, they just feel more potent than the ones you would use. You feel like you would get a better result with these almost always. That they're more connected or more accurate, not a better result because that is up to the gods, but a more accurate reading is a better way to explain it.
Wisla would kind of sit down and weighing the runes in the one hand to turn them over, looking at the different symbols, and then set them aside and pick up this sword. She'd probably set a bowl in front of her and a coal inside it and have ash and herbs smoking slightly. Take a sip of wine and then close her eyes and focus on the sword, and she'd like to try and read the sword and find out what it does and what's special about it.
Yep, you give me a Seathwise check.
I am actually going to use one of the Skeins of Fate to roll a 19 on that.
Okay,
And
so go ahead.
If you need my modifier, I could give that to you.
Sure, couldn't hurt.
+6.
Okay. Yeah. So you like almost go into a trance, trying to like understand what is the story of this blade. And as you kind of like run your hands along the length of it, along the runes, you can almost like read a story, and you get these flashes of all these different people who have borne the sword, and all of them you see like either like a cut of skin or like a brand going into skin, or like the sort of tap 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 of a tattoo. Always the same, always these runes along the length of the blade on everyone who's ever held it. So you get the impression that if you want to use this blade properly, you need to have this, whatever this is, on your body, either by tattoo, by scarification, or by branding. it needs to be a part of you.
Do I get a sense of what the runes mean?
Yes and no. You think generally it's a case of protecting. You get like a lot of they're strange runes. They're not the sort of, I would imagine that on the runes that you have had, you would call them simplified. As in like they're the easiest to read expression of the runes. Well, these have like many more things jutting from them. They're much closer to like the Helm of Awe than they are to like the rune for a tear or something like that. They're much more complex. And you get this impression of like protection, that this blade will see who is bonded to it and will protect them.
Visla has a light sheen of sweat on her forehead by the time these visions have finished. And her small kind of area is filled with the smoke of the incense. Very well. And she'll go find Phelim. My Carl.
There's one more thing.
Ooh, there's more.
You like open your eyes and you think that vision is done, and then there's like a sudden flash, and you see this previous man, this Soderfjord, who you had killed together. You see him in the snow, in the ice, like the melting ice flows of the ocean, and it's just his head is above it, and he's like there, and he's like shaking. His face is blue. He's like going through that, and then there's like a flash to like the previous person who had held the blade, and they are hanging from a tree by a rope, and then a flash to another, and they have like impaled themselves with a spear, and all these different people who have sacrificed something major, some part of themselves. Or maybe it's that, or maybe it's a curse, and everyone who holds this blade has found a grim end.
Visla, I think, had stood up, and the second wave drops her to one knee. And she shakes her head, and goes and would tell all of this to Phelim, what she's seen and what she thinks it might mean. My Carl, I will do as you wish. The choice is yours. But there might be a curse. I cannot say for certain.
I see. That said, it seems like there's still a chance that that might not be the case, and it could be very valuable. What do you think? I'll lend my ear to your wisdom on this before I make up my mind.
I do not know, Carl. You are young. You have your wife and your son. You have much to think of. However, there is great power in these runes.
Is it something that you think you could manage to inscribe them into me in whatever means that would need to happen?
I can.
We're not in a position to turn down power wherever we can get it. There's a risk, I'll take it in this instance. You can ready yourself to have that done. In the meantime, the runes that the man also had. You can keep them. Seem like they'd serve you well.
Thank you, Carl. I will prepare the implements.
Thank you.
So you go to get ready to go through this process, and we're just going to take a quick break there to go to the little girl's room. We'll be back in 2 minutes. So that's a weapon, all right.
Yeah, it certainly is something.
You are
It's
crazy
one of those
man if you
moments
don't
where
use it.
I was gonna say it's one of those situations where I'd be a crazy man either way, because
Yeah.
it's too dangerous to use, but it's too cool not to. Like I just can't help it.
Look at how bad. Oh my gosh! Look at how badass the dude that we fought was with that thing.
So it doesn't say. So I figure I might as well just double check real quick. The ability to gain the AC, is that like a bonus action or a reaction, or is it just whenever? Like how exactly does that work? Just so I know how to use it
Oh
correctly.
yeah, I will call that an action for
Doesn't
sure.
say. A full action.
Yeah, 'cause you need to like get the blood into the sword.
I'm okay with that. I just want to make sure that I know going in, so
Right.
so I can plan.
Okay, we're pushing the limits of what we can consider to be 2 minutes.
The what's it like resting on a ship, Lloyd? Do we still get the same benefits or?
Yeah, so you could take a short rest on the ship, which means you can spend a hit dice.
Okay, perfect.
Is a short
Did you
rest
say
3 days?
A short rest is 1, yeah, and you can spend a hit dice. If you do a short rest somewhere, well, I guess the ship would be safe. Like a steading. You need a long rest to get everything back.
Yeah. And would our time spent in the city overnight also count?
Yes.
Or no?
Yep.
Fit as the day. For now.
Ooh. All right. Yeah, those 2 hit dice were very kind to me, thankfully, and I needed it. So
Good.
not full up, but much better than 1 hit point.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm not full up, but I'm a lot better than I was.
All right, I'm back. Sorry for the delay.
Totally unacceptable.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
We've all
So
been.
hard when you have to sing "You Are My Sunshine."
I remember those days. They're great. Don't let these guys give you a hard time, Taylor. It's all worth it.
You sailed for the best part of a day up the coast, and you can see in the distance as kind of morning breaks again, Strandveg, little town. They've got like one little jetty. You wouldn't even call it a dock. There's like 2 sort of fishing dinghies, little rowboats there. And yeah, the village itself is quiet. You arrive kind of just before dawn, and you think you're not surprised to see that there's no one like watching or like there's no watch set up or anything like that. So you can literally like pull the ship up onto the beach and walk into the town if you want.
Yeah, I think Phelan would gather obviously himself and the rest of the party, and probably God, I forgot his name. The
Okay.
other Yeah, Hauker. And then just maybe a couple of random men, just to, in case for some reason something does happen, he has a crew there, and also to look more intimidating. But he would do just that. He would grab the crew of them and start heading into town.
So you can walk into the town in the freshly fallen snow. A little bit of like that snow crunch as you walk. But other than that, it's quiet. Everyone seems to be asleep. Although there is like a dog that starts to bark. You can see like in one of the houses, in one of the windows, just like barking like crazy. And then like lights come on, like people light torches, whatever, and then open the door. There's like a man with like a thick black beard and long black hair. He's just in like his night clothes, whatever. He opens the door. He's got a torch and an axe, and he like looks at the like assembled reavers in his village. Okay. All right. No one needs to be hurt.
I agree. No one needs to be hurt, but that will, of course, come with certain other things given. I'm sure you understand.
Yeah. We have a... Yeah, okay. Can I get dressed?
Yes, but be quick about it.
So he goes into the house, and you can hear like things moving around and like all sorts of things like that. He's in there longer than you would think, I suppose, if we're just pulling on some clothes. Yeah.
I was going to say that once Phelim says that, as the door closes, he would hear like this hiss from Sigrid, probably off to his side a bit.
Phelim would just look over. If you have something to say it.
And as she hears the clanking, she goes, she points with her war axe. She goes, Carl, what do you think that man is doing in there? Pulling on some furs or getting ready for war?
He plans to come out to fight. It will be a quick one. Doesn't seem like that would be very wise of him. Of course, everybody stay at the ready, just in case.
Perhaps you are too generous, Carl.
You'd rather me start burning the town down? Give me the word and I'll do it.
Nay. It merely does the man no harm to go in his underclothes.
You can hear yeah, and a slap, and then of a horse as it leaves quickly away from here. And you can hear the man's voice, go!
Sigrid would just go, ah! And start to run.
He runs around the house and comes around the other side, and he's got his hands wide. My children.
My Carl, do we pursue?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Lloyd, what was
Yeah,
that
I don't think I
that
did
he
either.
did?
Oh, I did.
So he came out and like had his arms wide, and he said it was his children on the horse.
Oh, okay. So Sigrid would skid to a stop, and then she would look at the man. Then she would look back at Phelim.
Should probably be a bit more upfront with your actions, if you please. I would hate for things to turn sour quickly if more unexpected things start to happen.
Usually, there's no discussion. There's just killing.
I figure there doesn't need to be bloodshed as long as we get what we're here for, either way. But I would suggest that we make it quick, of course.
That's what they say. They all say there won't be violence, and then they take thralls. Then they take my wife.
My Carl, do we pursue them? They may have plunder.
I'm not sure how much that one horse could carry. And I'm not sure that we could catch up to it at this point. We just need to be quick. And he's going to look over to this man and say, well, unless you want there to be violence, I'd say let's get to it. Of course, money is the primary objective here. Anything that you can give.
Yeah, we have something ready for people like you. And he like goes back into the house and he like pulls out. He's kind of dragging this like box, and then he like leaves it in the middle between you and him, and then he takes like moves like 10 feet back from it. This is what we have, what we can spare. That won't lead to us dying. We need to eat.
Phelim's going to look over and nod for somebody to go take a look at the box.
Lisa will go.
So you can walk over to it slowly. This man is like staring at you as you like go to open the box. And you do, and there's maybe 60 hack silver in there. You can see at a glance. There's like 2 nicely made sort of fur cloaks, and that's it.
This is an insult, Carl. Give the word and I'll have Kval and Gorm drag everyone from their homes.
Phelim's just going to look up towards this man with just that look of just like, come on, and just say, surely there must be something more than this.
This is what we have put away so that people like you don't. 60 hack silver.
What does this village look like, Lloyd? Does it look like it's rather poor? Is it like a what do you, how do they typically?
My understanding was that it's pretty bad. Yeah, that it's super small. So
It's like
50 hack silver would actually be a lot.
It's like a
It's
collection
kind
of
place.
houses and farms, you know. It's like barely even a village. That's not a town square, anything like that. This is just the first house you came to, basically. And obviously, this guy is like their equivalent of a watchman in that he has a dog. You know, like not a soldier either. Like they're just like people who live here, not particularly rich or wealthy. You think that 60, like of their income is pretty substantial.
My Carl, we are not here to butcher women and children. Let us take this. There's no need to shed blood here. And she would kind of look over to Wagner, hoping that their eyes will lock. And take it away.
They absolutely do lock, and Wagner holds the gaze for a moment before turning back to Phelim and says, "Perhaps an offering from their larders. The men will want to eat, at least. They have farms, perhaps they have meat."
Yeah, Sigrid would nod to that in agreement.
Yeah, Phelim would look up to the man and say, "Yes. If there's anything you can offer from food stores, would ease my men's aggression, perhaps. I understand that there's not much more money to be had here."
What we make in the farms is what we eat. We don't even trade. We make just enough. If you take a goat or you take a pig, people will die here.
What time of season is it? I can't remember.
It's like end of winter, start of spring.
Okay, so yeah, they would have been eating off their winter stores.
Yeah.
Very well. As I said, we did not come here to cause death. I kind of nod back towards some of the random crew members that they brought here. Bring the chest aboard the ship.
What's your name, Northman?
Phelim.
I'll remember your kindness.
Please do.
He stands and watches as the crew pick up the chest and bring it aboard your ship, leaving footprints in the snow.
I'll turn back to everybody else and just say, well, I don't see much more reason to waste our time in this garbage pile. We have what we came here for.
Wagner just
Wait to
looks.
see if he gets any response.
Wagner just looks at Phelim for a moment, then looks at Sigrid. Sigrid. Every character that I associate with in role-playing games. Sigrid. And just waits for everyone to depart.
Phelim would see an approving nod from Sigrid as we all start to withdraw.
Wisla looks over her shoulder at the man and says, "You would do well to remember Phelim Firebeard, Carl of Ingvik."
He nods.
Yeah, and with that, Phelim would actually, despite everything me as a player saying otherwise, would hold up to his his bargain. He would take the money and the cloaks, but would tell everybody to get back aboard and ready to leave.
So you get onto the ship, and where to now?
So with that, Phelan would want to try to find somewhere kind of out of this general area, just because he feels like there's going to be a little bit more high alert in this area, especially given two different targets hit. But he also knows that it's important to for the people that have trusted him with their service to get their payment for doing so. So he would probably gather everyone together, whoever would know, and would try to brainstorm locations, somewhere that would probably have a little bit more money, not necessarily crazy, nothing insane. Like he's not going to try to tackle the gold mine because he knows it's going to be absurd. But any other ideas for places far enough away to not cause a scene, but still with enough money to make it worth our while? Not exactly sure what areas would be available of that sort.
So you're in Soderfjord at the moment. If you like continue to sail east, you would be able to. If you followed the coast, you would eventually end up in Valleyland, which is like the richest part of Iskloft. Some people believe that it is magically rich. That there's like something weird about that place. That there's like unnatural fertility to the lands. That like the bees are too big. That all of these things are just like a little bit too perfect about it. But that's a very wealthy place for sure. Soderfjord is wealthy too, although not when it's a tiny little village like this. And you're not going to make much from little villages like this, but if you hit 100 of them, you will, you know? So it's really a question of like what your approach is going to be. There are, you know, dozens of villages within striking range, within like the current sort of Jarldom sphere, but if you go a little bit further, there's going to be lots of villages there too. It's very heavily populated down here.
Is there a spot where we could hit more than one a night, like hit 3 or 4? Or are they too spread out for that?
Probably not without splitting up. It would be, I think, rare to have villages so close to each other. Or they'd just be the same village, you know?
Yeah, I think it might be worth it actually to kind of basically continuing in this same direction. Just like continue to try to find these kind of smaller towns up the coast, the ones that are going to be easy targets. And kind of just build up a store from hitting those, at least for a little bit. But I don't know, what do you guys think?
I think it's a solid strategy. We're not depleting our resources. You know, we're in the hostile territory. And I think also, too, word will spread of Firebeard, and that if you just give him a little bit of tribute, he's going to go away, and you don't lose any of your men or your women. And, you know, I don't know. It could work. Crazier things happen in Isklof.
So then if the intent is to go for like lots of little villages, then we can do a sort of like time skip. Where, you know, you're finding these like little places on the coast. You jump in. Occasionally you have to kill a person or like punch a person or something like that. But mostly it goes as it goes. And the more that you do it, the more people are like, oh, you're that guy. You're not going to make a big deal about this if we give you tribute. But what you do notice, what Wagner would notice, I suppose, is that the money is becoming less So for a village the size of Strandveg, who like gave you 60, like as maybe a week goes by, it's 40 silver in the box. That's probably something that you would notice.
Yeah, I think at the end of this, these varied scenes of arriving, demanding payment and loot, Vagnar's just looking at what they've divvied. And he's going to approach the Carl and he says, "My Carl, a word."
Of course, speak freely.
While we rest and we take an easy path, this venture is becoming less and less profitable. I think we need to risk. I think we need to push. Lest the people of this coast begin to think we are forgiving.
Yes. I merely wanted a couple of easy targets to make sure that the men of the ship at least got a share before they grew restless. However, I agree. I've been easy because it's been the wiser path so far, but if people will take our kindness for granted, withhold money knowing that trouble might be avoided, then perhaps it's time for a show of what that sort of thing might cost. I'm sure you understand my meaning.
Aye, I do. When next we rest upon the shore, it shall be done.
Good.
Wisla finds Phelim in a quiet moment, perhaps just the two of them at the prow of the boat, where the wind carries their words away. So, my Carl, I would speak with you.
Of course. What is it?
I am with child.
Are you certain?
Yes, Carl. I've known for near a fortnight.
Well, that makes things complicated.
Nay, it does not. My abilities are unaffected. I simply wished you to know, as in time it will become evident to even the most pig-headed of our crew.
I understand. If time comes, I don't need to tell you this, but I'll say it anyways. I'm sure you know that there is still plenty danger ahead. I'm not sure how much you're willing to risk with such responsibilities in tow. I'll still need you, and I hope that you can be there, but I won't push you to do things that might endanger more lives than your own, the one that you've already put forward.
You need not worry for my sake, Carl. Before my time comes, the raiding season will be done, and we shall be home in Ingvik.
Good, if you say so. In the meantime, don't be afraid to speak openly if you have things that you might need. It will make the burden easier to bear. I'm sure it will not be an enjoyable couple months in the meantime.
I will manage. I am stronger than I look. And you
I'm
need
well
not
aware.
worry. The father is not aboard the ship.
I have a feeling I might be able to harbor a guess, given recent events and their costs.
Yes. The fates seem to have a sense of humor. That freeing Vagnar might result in this.
Always the one who seems to give freely that seems to bear the hardest burden for such actions, it seems. I'm sure he'll be. I would say that he'd be grateful for your sacrifice, but I'm sure that'd be a lie.
I'm inclined to agree with you, Carl. But, as I said, take no extra concern for me. I will manage just as well as I always have.
Good. We'll need it. Well, unless there's anything else.
No, Carl.
So you sail the rest of the way up the coast, looking to find another town that's easy pickings, and you find one. Now, did you want to sail all the way around to Valleyland, or did you want to stick kind of in Soderfjord around where you were?
I figure it's probably not great to stay in one spot too long. The longer that we're here, the more chance that people take note and fortify. So I figure that at least my plan was to kind of continue along up, kind of hitting these little towns as we go, but kind of going in one direction further north as we go towards the Valleyland.
Yeah. Okay.
In the meantime, I'm not sure if it's enough that you would want to spend a scene on it. If not, but Phelim would like to divvy up some of the treasure that we've made so far to the men.
Sure.
Just to make sure that they get their payments for such things. So, right now I'm going to split up 800 hack silver worth across everybody, which will basically be 25 per person. Pretty close. Yeah, so that'd be 750 hack silver. He's gonna pay out towards all the men just because these are, at least some of them are pirates, so they do need to make sure that there's an income to ensure service, so to speak,
Yeah.
alongside everybody else deserving it. So he'll pay 25 out to each member of the crew for their service so far.
I think you would see like a lot of them who would generally be quite scowly, become quite smiley fairly quickly. You would see the missing teeth, stained teeth, and whatever of these pirates as they kind of smile at the. There is something happening. We are doing work, and we're finally getting something for it. And they seem pleased with the amount as well. And ship is probably in better spirits as you head off towards your destination. So maybe another day goes by until you find this village on the coast, nameless. You don't know what the name is. Much like Strandvik, it's got like one little jetty. There's one little fishing boat there. And And you arrive in the dead of night. You've been sailing through the night, sticking to the coast. And you can see that, there's a couple, there's smoke coming from some of these houses from fires. It's cold. It's a little bit further north. And that's what you see.
Yeah, Phelim's going to look to the others. We'll do similarly as we have. Bring torches. Potentially not just for light. We'll see how the townspeople react. I fear a word of our generosity may be outweighing our haul from such things, and I wouldn't want that to be the case going forwards. Ready yourselves. I fear this one may not be as short and as quick as the others, depending on the generosity of our receivers.
So you can jump off the ship onto the jetty and make your way into the town itself. This time somebody does notice. People are still awake, it seems. And there's somebody rings a bell, dung dung, dung dung, dung dung. There aren't a lot of people in this village, but there are, a couple. And they start to open doors and pop their heads out, and alarm goes up, and people try and grab whatever they can. You see they come out armed, although they're armed mostly with cudgels or some of them have axes, but they're obviously tools rather than weapons. They're short-handled, sort of little bladed axes. Some of them have farming implements, and they kind of clump together behind this larger man, obviously a blacksmith by his build and by his calloused hands.
All right, well, I'm sure you know why we're here. It doesn't need much explaining. Unless we get what we came here for, it's going to be a bad time for you. Tell me, what do you have?
Oh, you're the red beard.
Yes. Seems you've heard of me.
Yeah, they speak very highly of you. They say you only take what little you have to, and that you're going to go back up north and show those real reavers what's for.
What do you have? Let's get to the point.
Ransom? Yeah. Well, usually they don't come here. Our Jarl will be really angry if you steal from us.
Fuck your Jarl, do as the Carl says.
He's a powerful man.
And yet, I presume that he's not here, is he?
Not right here, no. But these are his lands. And attacking us is attacking him. He won't forget a slight like this.
Who is your Jarl? Assuming that Sigrid doesn't know exactly where the exact location of where they are.
Yeah, I don't think you'd know. Boar. Jarl Boar.
Is that a name known to any of us? Would that be?
No, I don't think you'd recognize it necessarily. Well, you're from here, right? From around here, Sigrid? You're from Soderfjord? Yeah. Then you would know Jarl Boar. Yeah. He's pretty powerful. He would have like lesser Jarls beneath him, you know? He would like be one of the bigger Jarls in Valleyland.
Vagnar's going to stand forward and look at this blacksmith in the eye, and he says, "And who's going to be left to tell this Jarl Boar that it was us?" You cooperate fully.
Okay. We can get some silver.
How much?
I don't know. How much do you have? And like they start chatting amongst themselves about how much silver that they could like bring here. Oh, I could bring like 5. I don't know. 3. I don't know. They're like whispering to each other.
There are small tremors that begin to shake. They seem to be emanating from Phelim around the ground. Little pebbles rumble. You feel just a slight nudge on your shoulder from Wisla.
Enough of this. Bring everything you have. Quickly.
What? No, that's not fair. You don't take everything. We'll die if you take everything. It's cold. We have to eat.
Then how about you have one less mouth to feed? And Vagnar just violently strikes out at the man.
Okay, roll for it. And you can roll initiative.
Do you mind if I take that roll as my attack?
Yeah, no, that's fine. You can attack
Just
it.
right. Perfect. Okay, so that's going to be 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Yeah, definitely.
21, yeah. Sneak with this, Lloyd?
Yeah, I assume.
Okay. That's 14 points of damage as he slashes with his new war axe.
Amazing he doesn't die immediately. He like takes the strike across his chest and there is like blood and he like coughs. Fuck you! And he like has this hammer in his hand. He's gonna swing, but we're gonna roll initiative. Okay, so there's this boy of maybe 13 in the crowd, and he has like a toy sword, basically like a wooden sort of sword. He's going to rush forward. He's going to try and smash it into your kneecap, Farhat. Farhat, Jesus Christ. Can't escape it. So it's a 13, Olab.
Yeah, Vagnar spots the boy out the corner of his eye, and he just brings up a kick into this kid's chest to stop him even reaching him.
Yeah, he absolutely misses you, and then it's your turn.
Vagnar is going to attempt to disarm him of his weapon and make an example of him. Uh, 17 on the die, plus...
Definitely a hit.
10, 20, 20, yeah, 22. So, but that's like disarming him essentially.
Oh, like grapple?
I just wanted to like whack the sword out of his hand and put my blade to his throat essentially.
Okay, I think you'll have to grapple him.
Yep, no problem
do
there. Yep, that's fine.
Oh my god. What did you get total then?
Total was 22.
You're not going to believe it. But he's able to resist. You like, maybe it's just unlucky, or maybe the wood of his sword is like unusually soft and you just cut through it instead. He's got like this little stump instead. Jesus Christ. I was not expecting that. So you like cut right through his wooden sword, and he just like looks up, confused and horrified. A fisherman who has a spear, a fishing spear. He sees his son like engage in this fight, and he like runs forward and like tries to push his son behind him. He's going to try and stab you. Roll on the thing. 17 on the die. +2.
Yep, that's getting me.
It's going to be 3 points of damage. This fisherman just barely grazes you. There's a woman who like runs forward and grabs the boy and like pulls him back from the fight. She's like grabbing him and pulling him away, and he's like, no, I want to help. And she's pulling away and crying. Sigrid.
Sigrid would turn facing Phelim and say, there's no honor in this. They are just farmers, not warriors. You butcher them. And she would spit on the ground, but she, Lloyd, she is going to hold an action to defend Phelim.
Okay.
So if anyone comes to threaten Phelim, then she'll strike out at them.
Visa?
Visla is standing just behind Phelim, and she puts a hand on his shoulder. Says, choose your words and your actions carefully, but know that the Allfather is with you, and she'll cast Bless.
Okay. This blacksmith who's been cut across the chest, you can see his clothes are already like dark with blood. He has this hatchet, and he's going to try and stand next to his fisherman pal and try and get you, Farah.
Wagner.
Jesus Christ, I can't do it. I don't understand. He gets a 4 on the die, so he misses you entirely. He's like bleeding very, very heavily, and he's like coughing already. And he like has this clumsy swing, and you're easily able to avoid the strike. You can hear this like of this like hound, which is now rushing towards you to try and defend the people who live here. 15. Wagner?
Nope, bats the dog away with a shield.
There's a woman standing in the back who's just screaming, and she's like trying to pull the blacksmith away. She's like grabbed his other hand, and she's like pulling him like, no. But it's no good. Phelim.
So Phelim is kind of with Sigrid so far on this one, but he knows that there's going to need to be something that's going to have to happen here. So he's going to take out the great sword, actually, that he carries with him now, and kind of just like holding it up so that it's visible, and he's just going to like yell, enough! There's no reason for everybody to die, but we will if you do not give us what we're here for. It seems stories of my kindness has been exaggerated, and people seem to have taken that as a reason to take advantage of that kindness. There's no reason for everybody to die here, but we will take what we're here for, if that costs you your lives or not. So I suggest everybody stand down, just trying to like intimidate them. into hopefully not killing her. Oh, hopefully not us having to kill all of them.
Yeah, well, Faroth attacked first. Faroth, fucking Faroth, god damn it. Vagnar attacked first.
Yeah.
So the rest of them have like rushed up to basically try and deal with that situation. And I think there's like a lot of screaming and a lot of fear. And the people who are in front of Vagnar are like obviously afraid of him. And they can see the look in his eyes, which is like probably that he's not going to stop. The boy is being like pulled away by his mother, and you can see that like his dad's in the fight. He wants to help. He's going to try and escape her grapple, which he does. He like pushes her away and like runs with the like broken little wooden sword, and he's going to try and mess you up with it, which he doesn't. You can just feel this like thunk, and that's it for him. Vagnar, your turn.
Vagnar is going to maintain his word, and he still wants to make an example of one of them. So he's standing against this accrued force, and he's going to put his war axe into the blacksmith because he's already injured. If he can.
Yep.
That is a natural 20, I swear to God.
He's just dead. Yep. You just tell me what happens.
So the blacksmith takes another wild swing at Vagnar, but Vagnar steps into the arc of the attack, catches his arm, and just drives his war axe into the man's throat. And he's going to deliberately bleed him slowly and make so everyone watches to scare them into backing off.
The woman at his side is just screaming over and over again. No, as he like falls down onto the ground. The fisherman also looks like horrified. That's a friend of his, obviously, and he's like down and he's trying to help him. Like, come on, no, stay with me. The dog is going mental. It's going absolutely berserk, but the woman is like trying to keep that back so you don't kill that. And they're just like looking up in horror at you, all of you.
Vagnar turns around and he just looks at the accrued forces behind him, not doing anything. And then he looks once again at Phelim, but he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, Phelim will just look out and say, hopefully one example is enough. Unless you want more of the same at his hands and everybody else's. Think that there's something that you guys would like to give to me as a gift, as payment.
You can hear this and the people are just screaming and crying and trying to look after their dead. They're not listening to you. The dog is like barking like crazy, and there's just like, I don't think there's anything that you could do to make the wife stop screaming or like the kid stop crying. You know, there's just like, it's such a horrible moment for them. I don't think that like you waving your sword around or shouting is going to change it.
Orders, Carl.
Well, and he's just going to shout into the mess, like not caring at this point if people are listening or not. I tried to resolve this peacefully. It seems that that is not going to be an option, and that you're going to resist, and you're going to shout, you're going to fight. Well, we brought some torches here. I say put them to use. Apparently one example wasn't enough. Kind of looks over to Vagnar and then back to the crew that they have.
Many of the crew have these grins on their faces, like they're pleased with that.
And with that, he's just going to allow them to get to work.
You don't get away with saying "get to work." It's worse than getting to work. You let a pirate crew loose on this village. They immediately drag the women here away. The men are killed almost immediately. The boy is put in chains, in ropes. Everyone who is here is dragged out into the street, and those who can be thralls will be kept as thralls. Those who can't will be used and then killed. Everything is taken, and whatever they don't take, they burn. And so by the time that morning comes, there's just occasional howling of that hound. Smoke as you make your way back onto the ship.
Visla would kind of look at Phelim and say, should you leave one, that the others will learn? Word might spread to the other towns.
Perhaps a change of reputation might be in order. Yes. I'll kind of go shout, make sure one stays alive and here. People need to know that my kindness is not to be taken advantage of.
I believe the boy has necessary motive.
Yeah, Phelim is going to make sure that the boy stays alive and is basically sent off as a messenger of what's happened.
So the boy and the hound then, as you get on the ship, sit in the ruins of the village. He's sobbing, and the hound is trying to comfort him as you pull away and sail into the ocean.
As we're sailing away, a kind of smoke-stained Sigrid would walk up to Phelim. She has her helmet off. Her sweat and soot is on her face from the dirty work. She would say, a well-trained dog is a good thing, Kyle. But you have to know when your dog goes wild and rabid. You have to deal with it before it bites your hand. I hope that you know when your dog has gone wild.
No, I have a hard time understanding you sometimes, Sigrid. You tell me I'm too nice. You tell me I'm too mean. You tell me I'm wise. You tell me I'm foolish.
Breathing is not easy work. I hope you are proud we butchered a bunch of fishermen and women, children. Did not do warriors' work.
Wagner is going to be across in the corner maybe whilst this conversation's happening, and then he sort of stands up and he says, did you lose more than your hand that day?
Sigrid ignores him, and she just locks eyes with Phelim and says, keep an eye on your dog. You'll see before you know it, he'll turn on you. Trust my words.
keep an eye on your tongue, or else perhaps my dog will bite it out.
As may be. The gods so will it, it will happen.
We've done what we needed to do. I have a reputation of being easy. We'll be taken advantage of. We'll be walked all over by the people who will come to take from us. I tried to resolve this peacefully. They refused. We did what we had to do. That's all there is to it. A warrior's work is what I tell them to do.
So as Phelim starts down the slippery path of rationalizing murder and rape and destruction, you sail. Where to?
As we're sailing, are there also kind of cut scenes of Wisla maybe one night at a time adding a symbol to Phelim?
Yeah, definitely.
And Phelim, is this on your back or your arm? Where would this kind of line of runes be?
How much room would we need? Oh God, face.
It depends on how big you make them.
Yeah, I think you would probably almost like would want it like a tattoo sleeve, kind of like just across his whole arm. Like small enough that it's not enough that it's gonna cover like basically his whole arm, so that anybody like who would see him would see all that kind of just going up into his clothes.
Yeah, so you see that cut scene of Phelim sitting, maybe like teeth gritted, and Wisla dipping a needle in ink and just tapping it into his skin over and over, then dip in the ink.
Yeah, it's a slow and painful process. Agonizing, like over and over again, piercing into your skin and inserting the ink underneath.
I think Vagnar might watch on one of these occasions. He's seeing the ink and the blood forming upon the floor, and it looks to him at one point like a raven.
All right, and with that, I think probably like we've hit. I don't know. Well, how much would we have been able to scrounge up from that miserable, terrible place?
You'd probably, and this is like searching everywhere. Like you would have gotten maybe 50 hack silver, and then you would get like supplies. Like a week's worth for the full crew. In terms of food and things like that. You could also take several of the animals that they have there and put them on the ship if you wanted to. There was like a couple of goats that lived there, some chickens, things like that. Some clothing, and then like bowls and like things that you need for cooking, pots, stuff like that. If you wanted to take literally everything, you could potentially and put it all on the ship.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like we already took in one way or another most of the people there, so I don't think that leaving all their supplies there for no one to use them would be particularly useful. So I figure we would have taken most of that as well. As for where to next, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, by this stage, I think you're wounds would have healed. It's been a couple of weeks now of this reaving, and you haven't really been in any fights beyond this one right now that you have just come from. Most of the time, it might have been like a small scrap where someone gets punched and then they hand it over. So yeah, I think at this stage you guys would have gradually gotten the benefits of a long rest over the space of about 2 weeks.
Perfect. Yeah, I think at this point, Phelim and probably most of the others are probably itching for something a little more, a little bit bigger of a haul, perhaps a little bit bigger of a risk at it. So kind of keeping up through the path that we've been going on. Try to keep an eye out for something a little bit more worthwhile of a snag, perhaps.
Yeah, I mean, there are bigger settlements that you could go to. In Valleyland, certainly, lots of places. But Valleyland's unusual in that it has a huge amount of jarls. Because the land is so rich, it's kind of, there's like a lot of smaller jarldoms. And because the land is so rich, there's lots of people here. There's lots of warriors here. It's not a great place to try and steal from, generally speaking, because it's like very well supplied in all the ways that it needs to be difficult for reavers. Like you'll find little shitty villages on the coast and things like that you could reave, but in terms of bigger targets, you think it's probably better to go to Soderfjord. Or from where you are now, if you sailed north, you'd get to Gunland, which is also a possibility.
Yeah, there is a part of me that wants to stop by, perhaps not necessarily to purchase the best towards such people.
Was that me that broke up there?
No, it's Jeff.
Okay, shit.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry, Jeff. I didn't.
Looks like I
get any of that.
Like
The gods are punishing you for butchering those poor villagers.
Yeah, I didn't get any of that. So I would say the options are you've got the map, you've got a couple of settlements, you've got the big settlement that we talked about where the mines are, the silver mine and the iron mine. There's a settlement called Uppal, which is also kind of west of where you had of the stone, the Odin stone that you were at, which is also supposed to be a decently sized village. So those would be some potential targets.
All right, am I not a disaster still?
Yes, it seems to be better.
I typed what Lloyd was saying into the chat while she were gone.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right, yeah, so there's what I was going to say before my internet exploded and everything died, is that I'm kind of torn between either finding another spot in Soderfjord to try to snag a bit more of a profit, and there's also a part of me that wants to stop in Gunland to buy mercenaries. I'm not sure what you guys think would preferable options.
Vagnar looks to Sigrid at this point, seeing that she is itching to say something.
I hate you, Rob. Carl, I cannot shake it from my mind. I think we should go to the forest. Follow the map.
You really think what's there is still there after everything? It's been weeks since then. If anybody else knew its location, it'd be long gone.
At that, she looks at Visla. What have you seen? And he doesn't call she doesn't call you witch. She calls you Visla.
I have not turned the runes to that. I can if you would like.
She would look at the Carl Phelim to make that decision. It's not her place to do so.
I'm going to be hassled about this map and this treasure for all eternity until we know or not. Perhaps it might be worth it at least to consult on the matter. We kind of look to Avisla.
I will do what I can. You must understand these things are not always clear.
Of course.
Lloyd, do I have... Yeah, I do. Augury. Can you remind me how that works? Do you remember? I'm going to have to look it up.
I think you get to ask 3 questions, and I respond to them either wheel, woe, or wheel and woe.
It's not even that good.
What's that one then?
The 5e version is a specific course of action that you plan to take within the next 30 minutes. You get 1.
Okay.
And it depends on how leniently you want to define course of action.
Well, you could argue that the
If
decision
setting
you're
on
going to
it
make is within the
immediately, yeah.
first 30 minutes. So it would definitely work.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if we were to...
The one, really.
If we were to pursue this...
Yeah. Like the course of action is to follow the map and go to the location marked with the wealth rune.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it says if you cast it more than 2 times, there's a 25% chance that you'll get a random reading.
Yeah, which this would be the first time.
Yeah, this would be the first
Since
time.
any rest, so that would not apply.
I don't think I actually have to roll anything, which feels weird.
No, I don't think so either. I think you just do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Visla would gather up the bones with the runes on them, the ones that she got from the village. And she would breathe on them. And ask, what fate awaits us should we seek this treasure? Be it weal or woe, and cast the bones.
Wheel and woe.
She kind of studies them for a moment, where they've fallen. Touches one of them, slides it around a little. I cannot say if the wealth is still there. Both weal and woe await us if we pursue it.
Always weal and woe. No gain without risk, I say. We will be sailing directly back into heart of lands which we have so recently wronged. It will be dangerous. I'm still not certain if it's worth the risk to do so.
Sigrid is about to say something, but she bites her tongue and clenches her teeth, remembering what you had said days earlier.
If Phelan would notice that, he would say, "You can speak freely. Any course of action is at least worth consideration."
You do not want to hear the words of my counsel, Carl. The decision is yours.
Spit it out, you dumb bitch. Did Carl ask you a question?
And I answered the question.
Your counsel, I haven't. It's only one way from know if what you say is useful, and that's if you say it.
If you're talking to Sigrid, I missed the first part of that, Jeff. You kind of roboted for a second.
Yeah, he just said that he's both heeded and ignored your advice before, and the only way to know if it's useful is to hear it.
Very well, then. If the Carl would hear what I would say, then I would say we go. And she would indicate the treasure map, wherever it's tucked away, whether it's with you or not. Like you have said, there is not most gain is not without risk. I feel that the Allfather is pointing us here, not without reason. He put that man in our path. I do not believe in coincidence.
And Phelan would kind of look to the others. Thoughts?
If you wish to go, Carl, I think it should be a small contingent. The crew have been paid. Their loyalty bought. They will not leave us behind.
And for those that do go, it will be good for them to stretch their legs.
Well, I'm still not convinced that this is the best course of action, but it seems like it will continue to haunt us until we try. Fine. We'll try.
So you begin to sail then back towards Soderfjord. Where are you going to leave the ship, and who are you going to leave with the ship? Are you going to take everyone with you and leave the ship on the beach, or are you going to leave the ship in the ocean and leave it with pirates?
I wonder if we could find like a small, like little jetty or something, or an inlet that we could bring the ship up.
Yeah, it's worth an
Rather
idea.
than, rather than beaching it like on the coast.
There are definitely rivers that flow towards the coast here, and so the question is, like, will it bring you closer to your location? But you can definitely sail up the rivers here. They're pretty wide and slow moving. I guess Hauk would know. Yeah, so you're sailing along the coast, and he would say, "Carl, there's something I could tell you that could be quite helpful."
Please.
And he like smiles. Do I get anything?
What do you want?
What do I want? Silver, always silver.
Is Vagnar near enough to hear this? It's okay if not.
Yeah, I imagine whatever. Yeah, I would say so.
Vagnar is going to be standing next to this singer. And he just looks again at Phelim with the same expression from the other night.
Well, I don't know how useful your information will be, so I don't know how much I can offer you, but I've given generously before, and you can assume as much that I can continue to do so. I need to know how valuable this information is.
It strikes me like one of those bargains that you make, and then I tell you, and then you don't have to pay me because you already know.
I've paid you before. What reason do you have to think I won't continue?
He like looks at Wagner. Back to you. It's probably worth about 3.
Three?
Yeah, 3 hack silver.
I'll give you 1 now, and 2 once I receive it, and can be assured of its value.
2 now, 1 when it's done. He spits in his hand.
Fine, but I'll remember if it's not worth it.
It will be. And
Better
he
be.
smiles. And when he like has the silver in his hand, he says, "Right, there's a river that we can take that'll take us up. Now it's tricky. It's tricky. The routes, they're a little bit dangerous, but I know them. We've sailed up here a few times before. If we follow that, we can get all the way to Uppsala, and that's very close to where you're going. I think that's what the house is on the map. So I think that will be helpful to you."
And I assume that you will be able to guide us to that location with enough ease and with confidence.
Of course. We'll probably want to steer
Good.
clear of the town, though, eh?
Yes, it'd be better if we kept eyes off of us. We can prevent people from knowing that we're here, at least as best as we're able to. That would be ideal. We're here to find a specific location, not to stir up trouble.
Not getting seen is what I'm good at, what we have been good at for a long time. Don't worry about it, Carl. I've got you covered. And he sets to the rudder, and he and his men will sail pretty expertly up the river for the best part of a day. It would have been a lot longer to walk. But eventually you come to a point where the river kind of narrows so much that you're no longer able to sail. There's sort of like a small lake, some kind here. Very tranquil, but it's definitely in the middle of nowhere. There's no like settlements nearby. It's fairly deep forest already. And they you can get into one of the smaller boats and head off into the woods following the stream. Are you bringing lots of people with you? Are you bringing just you guys? Who are you going to bring?
I definitely want to leave some amount of people here at the ship. In case for some reason somebody stumbles across it, I do not want them to take it. Let's take a look at who we have.
If we were to bring some crew of the kin that joined us and leave our more capable aboard the ship, Kval and Gorm will remain.
Yes,
We only
I
need
figure
5.
we should. Yes, I agree. We should leave a mixture of crew members. That way there's less likely that anything strange happens on the way. I figure we should try to keep a lighter profile as well. Leaves less noise. We take us and, what do you say, maybe 6 men in addition? 10 total?
9 would be holier and better luck.
Fair point. 9 it is.
Quick question: is 9 like the total band, or 9 men in addition to us would be holy?
It would be the number. So
9
like
total.
3 and thrice 3 are like holy.
Okay, that's what I thought. So with us 4, so 5 men.
Yeah. Unless there's objections, then I think that's a good starting point.
Okay. So you jump off into the shallows and you make your way kind of along this stream. Following along, this forest is very calm. It's absurdly bountiful in Soderfjord compared to what you're used to, the sort of tundra where you live. All sort of like long grass and rain and grey. Everything is grey or it's brown. But here, everything is green and like lush green. There's no room for trees because there's so many goddamn trees in this forest. And you've had to like cut your way through several times, but also you've seen that these woods just teem with life. There are like wild pigs and rabbits, deer, and even you saw an elk as you're like moving all the way through. You follow it and you come to this strange sight. Rising out of the side of the bank is a hill. Quite suddenly, like a mound, I suppose. And at the top is a really strange thing. There's a white tree that has been like bound in a way so that it has grown into a chair. It's been like bound and like pulled obviously throughout its whole life, so it's in the shape of like a large chair. There's other trees growing at the top of this hill next to it and around it, with like apples and pears and other fruits hanging from them. At the base of this hill, facing the water, there's 2 large thin stones that stand upright and one across the center of them, across the top of them, making a sort of door or portal. And blocking it is this large flat stone. There is a carefully drawn spiral carved into that big flat stone.
Vagnar's gonna turn around to Vizsla. What is this?
Can I roll to see if I know what this
Phelan.
is?
Yep, you can make a Seathwise check, see if you know.
Yeah, I imagine Phelan's like was turning to look at Havisla to ask the exact same thing. Like as he goes to open his mouth, Wagner already said it, and he just like looks expectantly at Havisla.
It is a non-natural 20.
So you don't know what it is, but you do know that it's not of your religion. That symbol is not runic. It's a different shape. It's not angular traditionally. The tree shaping, not normal, not at all. You would think almost like sacrilegious. The tree is like a really important part of your religion. The world exists as part of a tree, and to like bend them that way is somehow wrong. They're standing there like the 9 of you in like the shallows, and then you can hear like singing.
Vista looks at Phelim and she goes, "Cover your ears. Whatever this is, it is unholy."
And that's where we'll end the session. It's treasure.
I knew this was terrible. Why did I let you guys talk me into this? This is such a bad idea.
I know what it is. It's not what I put in the chat, but I can't remember what it's called in this cloth. But we are fucked.
Thank you for watching. If you did, we had some people watching the whole way through, so appreciate that. We'll see you next time.